So I thought that was very interesting. And,
Yeah.
you know, yes, I tell you what I thought I could do for those who haven't been able to access it. I have the fortunate ability to connect my computer to television. And that means I can get very good sound quality. And therefore, I could make a good quality sound recording of the talk. So anybody who's not able to get it on the YouTube video, then I could make that available if you're interested. But I'm not sure where we're going to go next time. We perhaps can have some discussion now, and we can think about where we want to go to next time in this situation where everything is speeding up evolution, isn't it? We really don't know where we're headed, either in terms of what's going to happen out there in the world, or kind of where our thinking and our meditations are going to be taking us. So perhaps we need to be a little bit open-minded about that. But I don't want to kind of just degenerate into being totally structuralist. I think it's been very, very useful to this week and last week to take those video talks as a basis. And it's really taken us to a very new and interesting place, I think.
Are you going to be doing the talks weekly? Do you know? Is it going to become a regular thing while this is going on?
No, that talk was part of a conference which was originally scheduled live somewhere and was put online, but I'm quite certain that Thomas Hübl will be continuing to give talks and may well. I don't think he's yet announced a regular weekly slot or anything like that, but he may very well do that, and we could continue following him. There are, there are other things that are, of course, equally interesting, but it might be good to just follow one track for a while. I think we can have a bit of discussion about it, and we can have a bit of discussion just following through on what I've been saying. But let's kind of just see where that goes.
If you go on to Thomas Hübl's website, you'll find there are a number of seminars and webinars that he is taking part in or conducting himself. Yeah. And you can subscribe to any of them. So it's like there's a nuclear reaction going on. One thing is sparking something else, like the Thomas Hübl and Otto getting together and sparking each other off and finding there's a lot of commonality. Although one is a scientist, the other one is a meditator from wisdom traditions. It's coming together, and I find there was at one point they mentioned about the blind spot of science, modern science.
Yes.
And that I think Alan Wallace often mentions.
Oh yeah. He's written a very interesting book on
consciousness, and that they all have made this basic wrong assumption that there is no consciousness without a functioning brain. And that's where I think things are changing. I'm surprised that the scientists haven't accepted it, because just today I saw a quote by Oppenheimer, or I think Niels Bohr, who talked about consciousness when he was interviewed. He said, there's nothing but consciousness. Science is just an approximation of what consciousness is all about.
The science doesn't know how to talk about consciousness. Conventional Western science, not all science, because as I say, Francisco Varela's work is very, very interesting, and there are many others. But conventional, orthodox Western science, if you like, does not know how to talk about consciousness. And there was even a very influential psychologist about 100 years ago called Thomas Watson, who held that consciousness does not exist at all. There's no such thing as consciousness, because it can't be found in the objective world. So he denied the very existence of consciousness. Now, how you can deny the existence of consciousness without having a conscious mind is I don't understand.
The same kind of people.
Amazing.
The same kind of people who deny that there is anything like a society.
Well, yes,
We use that
those two
first.
views are very connected. Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the consciousness of separateness, that mode of consciousness. The left brain, isn't it? You know, I don't know how many of you know the book by Ian McGilchrist called The Master and His Emissary. Anybody familiar with that book? This is a very interesting, you know, person. Ian McGilchrist was a very eminent academic literature person. He was a fellow of All Souls College in literature. But he got interested in this thing about the left and right brain. And so he subsequently became a fellow of All Souls. Being a fellow of All Souls, by the way, this is about the highest academic distinction you can have in this country, one of the highest in the world. He became a fellow of All Souls in 3 disciplines because he was so interested in the thing about the left and right brain. What about it? What is going on here? You know, these 2 different aspects of consciousness. And he became a fellow of All Souls in medicine and in psychology, as well as literature. So he spent 25 years researching this, and he wrote this book, and it's absolutely fascinating. And what he would say, and it says very clearly in this quote, the left hemisphere, which is the part of the brain that is connected with conceptual thought, is incapable of evaluating certain aspects of reality at all. It is incapable of distinguishing between reality itself and the model of reality that the brain formulates. The right hemisphere experiences reality directly. Right hemisphere is connected with emotional empathy, visual imagination, things of that kind. And the title, The Master and His Emissary, is taken from a parable, a Chinese parable about an emperor who has a large kind of, you know, kingdom, and he sends somebody off to look after one part of the kingdom, the emissary, but the emissary kind of, instead of following the instructions of the emperor, he begins to think that he's the one in charge and he's the important one who understands, has the wisdom, but he doesn't. So he's saying the left cerebral hemisphere is very intelligent, but it has no wisdom, essentially. We have created a culture almost entirely based on left hemisphere thinking, on you know, logical rationalization, on reductionist thinking, on analyzing the world into separate entities, on our linguistic representation of the world instead of on the world as it really is and experiencing it directly. And I think the upsurge of meditation contemplative practice in the world is a natural reaction to that overbalancing, and we see what's come out of it. Amazing, incredible technology. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking, staggering what we've achieved in terms of our ability to control, you know, the physical level of reality. But our awareness, our understanding of consciousness is primitive in that way. So something very profound is happening here, and you know, we see where this left brain that is unconnected to the wisdom of the right brain, if you like, you know, the ecological awareness, we might call it, you know, how it takes us into very, very dangerous territory.
It's in Toltec cultures, in Native Americans, they call this left and right brain. They have a similar concept as tonal and the nawal. And the tonal deals with the sustenance of life and relationships on a material level. And the nawal is something that is not confined to it. That's the creative element.
Yeah.
And how we need to experience both and bring them into balance.
Right. If anyone's particularly interested in the left brain, right brain thing, by the way, there's an amazing video talk, a TED talk by a woman called Jill Bolte Taylor, and it's called My Stroke of Insight.
Right.
Jill Bolte Taylor was is a brain scientist, a neurologist, and she became a brain scientist because her sister had a serious, condition which caused her, to have impaired mental ability. And she experienced a major left hemisphere stroke. So her left brain was put out of action completely. And she subsequently recovered. And so she said, I mean, I want to say just one thing about this talk. She said it happened when she was on her exercise machine, her rowing machine, and so she was putting quite a lot of strain on her heart and so on. And so she had weak blood vessels. She didn't know she had weak blood vessels around her brain. And so the blood vessel burst, there was a hemorrhage and a stroke. And she said, when she finally realized what was happening, and she said, oh, I'm having a stroke. And she said, the next thought was, that is so cool. How many brain scientists get the chance to examine their own brain from the inside?
Yeah.
So she talks about it. And that talk is absolutely inspirational. And if you don't know it, it may change your view of everything.
What was the name, David? Can you just say his name again?
Jill Bolte Taylor, B-O-L-T-E Taylor.
B-O-L-T-E.
Jill Bolte Taylor.
Right.
Yeah, very important talk. There's a book as well, but I think the talk is really impactful.
David, there was something
Maybe
else.
talk about that next time, actually.
They mentioned something about Gaia.
Right. I didn't see that bit. Okay. Oh, wow. Well, that's the thing that I'm most interested in.
Yeah,
My biggest single interest.
Yeah, Gaia, as in. Let me just find it on my notes.
Oh, global activation of intention and action. Is that what you mean?
That's the one. That's the one. And that kind of ties in with the dream yoga in Tibetan Buddhism, where the intention creates the reality that we experience.
That's not the Gaia that I was thinking of. No.
It is related to Gaia, as in the earth principle, where we are, if you think of us as a lot of cells, each with their own life form, existing as us, as a collective I, and a collective I's get into communal groups, which I think Thomas Hübl mentioned about intelligent network of communities.
Yes.
And that can then, you can extrapolate that to the earth, which is again nothing but all these individual sentient beings, and not even just sentient beings, even the inanimate beings. It's just,
if there are such things.
Yeah.
Such a thing as an inanimate being.
Yeah. So that is a very interesting concept. I have sent a link to the discussion. So I want to, because yesterday I got cut off before I got to that bit, when they talked about Gaia and the global activation. So I found that very interesting. I've been interested in Gaia theory itself, and you couldn't have designed a better virus to send a very strong message. It's harsh, but it's really made it's achieved something in what, 3 months that all the activation hasn't achieved in so many decades.
Yeah. I'm going to make an offer, actually, if people would be interested. I could give a talk about Gaia. It's
Mm.
something I've studied in considerable depth. I
Yeah.
established a group called the Gaia Network in 2000, which included James Lovelock. So I know a little bit about this, and it's a particular
Brilliant.
interest of mine. If you'd be interested, I could speak about that and relate it to what's going on.
That would be lovely.
I agree. That
Can
would
I
be.
suggest something, David?
Yeah.
Could you send a small note about that? And could we see whether we can invite people we know
Mm.
and make this Zoom between
Mm.
5, 6 of us to go out to more people, not just in York, but
Mm.
anywhere.
Yes.
Mm. Mm.
And we could arrange a time which kind of suits different time spans where people from US or Europe can join in.
Yeah, I wonder a little bit about that because there are, these things are going on all over the world at all kinds of times. I suppose my immediate thought is to tend to, at least for the time being, because we kind of decided we're going to do this regular slot. Maybe keep it to this until we find if there is an issue and people want to. I'm just thinking 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's early in the morning in the States. It's not ridiculously early.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
a good time.
yeah. Well, let's just see. Let's maybe for next week, because I think we probably won't get masses of people joining.
Yeah, it's too early probably next week, but we could assign a particular day where we can invite different people.
Oh, I'm not happy for anybody to be invited. I don't mind,
Yeah.
because more people, I think this, if this is worthwhile, it'll grow. I mean, that's the situation now, is that the usual physical geographical limitations don't apply. So whatever is of value and useful to people is going to grow, and whatever is not of value is not going to grow. So let's just open it up, and if you want to invite people, that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. So yeah.
So, do you mean to do this next
Well,
Wednesday,
what would people
David?
want to do? I mean, there's different things we could do. So we could continue with Thomas Hubel. If there's particular interest, we could. Hello, there's Natine.
Yeah, I'm going to move around. I didn't want my video to just spin around crazily. Okay, yeah, carry on.
So three things. One is we could have a look at another, whatever is one of the Thomas Hubel talks that's continuing to appear. If you be interested, we could all watch the video, the left brain, right brain video, and we talk about that, because I think that's also an incredibly interesting and relevant subject. Or I would, as I say, I'm offering to give a talk about Gaia theory and how that, because I think that has a huge amount of light to shed on what's going on.
Yeah, I think
So,
that sounds very interesting.
It does.
Yes, yeah. Likewise.
Yeah, and from me too.
Okay, I'm hearing a few votes for Gaia.
I am.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
We can do the others the time after or whenever. But no, it'll be great for me, because, as I say, it's something that I for a lot of years it was kind of along with the Dharma, it was my main interest, and it influences my thinking a great deal. So I'd be very interested to share that with you and
Yeah. I would like that.
And I think
Yes, it'll be. Yeah.
coming out of the other side of this, isn't it? Because it's linking into the care of Earth and everything else like that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I mean, not just coming out of the other side of the corona problem, but what I'm thinking about a lot at the moment is what's on the other side of the ecological crisis as a whole, because almost all the thinking that I've seen, and I've been involved in a lot you know, almost all of it is about how can we avert this crisis, or you know, what is going to happen and how terrible it's going to be. Very little about, well, if it is not the end of everything, which my personal evaluation is that is very unlikely. Very unlikely. I mean, I would say almost zero probability that it will be the end of life on Earth. Very low probability that it will be the end of the human history. I don't think it, but it will be a big, yeah, it will be a big event. Very big. You know, we may see in 100 years' time there may be 1/10 as many people on the planet as there are now. That's a very, you know, that's a pessimistic view. It's not impossible, but that is not the end of everything. Even if it's as bad as that, it's not the end of everything. So it's interesting that I've never really come across any sort of thinking or writing about what's beyond that horizon that we see of climate change. We see this big darkness and we talk about apocalypse. And people use that word as if apocalypse means just everything being destroyed and universal death.
No.
It doesn't mean that. Apocalypse actually literally means revelation. It's the text, the book of Revelation. It means the uncovering of what has been covered up and hidden. So, you know, a lot of my thought now is focused on this. We are going through a transition to something.
To something, yeah.
Transition.
Yes. And we don't think about that. So I will talk a little bit about that next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. Yes.
Very good.
Very appropriate. Very good timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, and what I'm also going to do next week, I haven't done it this week. I said I can set up a separate video so that A, if there's problems with the internet, I can still watch it later, and B, so that we could subsequently share it on YouTube. I have recorded this session, so we can, in principle, share that with people. But I think what I might do is I'll cut it up so that you know, the talk and the discussion and the meditation are all separate. So we might not want to share our group discussion with everybody on Facebook, for instance, but might just share a video of my talk. So, you know, just like that. So begin to think about being more flexible and sharing this with beyond just this group of 6. So yeah, maybe that's good.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, David. When I moved, I changed to another Wi-Fi signal area.
Okay. So
I lost the signal. So if you have, if you can put the recording to us,
yes,
whether
I can do that.
through YouTube or something, that'll be great. I'll catch up with
I
you.
can do it on YouTube. If anyone has difficulties with YouTube, I can try and do it a different way, but that's probably the easiest thing. Yeah. Okay. So Natina, I don't know if you how much you missed there, but we were talking about what we're going to do next week, and I gave 3 alternatives. One was to watch another Thomas Hübl talk and speak about that. Another was the video about the left and right brain, and the third one was for me to talk about Gaia, and I think that was generally voted for. So that's what we're going to do, I think. Yeah, I might also have a little bit of a look and see if there's any reading or a video or something that you know, but that's not essential. But if I find something that seems to be good, I might send it through on the email. And I don't know what we do quite, Martin, because is there some other way that we can? Yeah, I mean, if I have to telephone you and dictate internet links over the phone, it's a little bit clumsy. Do you only have a landline phone? Do you, or do you have a
only that
landline phone? Yes. Not quite sure how to handle that, but as I say, it won't be essential to if I do suggest a talk or a video, It won't be
On
essential.
YouTube, I can get that. Can't I?
Yeah, it's just. Oh well, I suppose yes. Then I could call
I
you
can
and
use
tell
the
you
internet,
the
use-
title, and you can
Use Google.
find it. Yes, yes. Okay, yeah, we can do it that way.
So what one is it? Have we got it yet?
No, I haven't decided.
All right,
I said if I find one that about that I think would be helpful for you to sort of look at
No, I can
first.
get it from Google.
You know the idea. Then I will email it, and then I will let you know over the phone.
Oh, right. So
Okay.
is the numbers going to be the same? These code
Yes,
numbers?
yes, those are the same. You can set up either a meeting for a particular time, or you can set up a recurring meeting. If it's a recurring meeting, then you can use the same code each time.
Right. Oh, well, I've got it in my pad anyway. So
Okay.
Mm.
Great. Okay, so I think we should do a little brief dedication.
Mm.
Just take a moment to tune in. It's been interesting today to move right out of the framework of traditional Dharma practice, but I feel it's very clear. Dharma practice is what we have been doing. And the situation has stimulated us, perhaps, to bring our practice, our meditation, and our discussions closer to responding to the need of this time. At this time, there is a great need for those who have some experience with spiritual practice, meditation, Dharma teaching, to bring that awareness, that understanding, that experience to the situation, to contribute spiritual energy, whatever wisdom and understanding that we have, and our positive motivation. We've worked in our practice to cultivate love and compassion and equanimity and inner peace, to bring those qualities into the service of the world. So thinking about these questions, meditating in the way that we've done, connecting with other wise teachers around the world who are expressing, giving voice to this spiritual need of the time, then if we're thinking, going back to the traditional language of Buddhism, there's no doubt this is tremendously beneficial. We are creating very positive spiritual energy, and it's very clear in what way we need to dedicate that energy now through our activity in this group, in the past, in the present, and in the future, and connecting with all other such groups of spiritual practitioners. Through those efforts, through that work, through that positive energy that we're creating, may humanity, our global society, and all of the non-human beings that share this planet with us all come through this crisis, this transition, this turning point, in the most positive way possible, and continue to evolve together, to work together, to create a world of lasting peace, harmony, loving kindness, and wisdom. Through our efforts, may we and all other living beings quickly attain the state of full enlightenment. Chang Chum Sam Chung Rinpoche, Nake Panam Ge Gyoji, Ge Panyam Pame Paya, Gong Ne Gong Du Pawa. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Forward to
Yeah.
seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Rowena, do you want to stay on for a bit? I'll just have a quick word.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So yes.
Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye.
Maggie. Bye, Martin. Bye, Natine.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye,
Okay.
Martin. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God. A long time.
Have you found how to leave, Maggie?
I'm sorry,
Have
I'm
you found
going.
how to leave the meeting? Okay.
No, perhaps not.
Ah,
Oh, let me just, I'll go. Right.
bottom of the screen at the right or top of the
Yeah.
screen?
Bottom of the screen at the right.
Leave meeting.
Oh, no, that's, oh, no, that's my spreadsheet. No,
I know.
I'll find it. I've got to put my glass, I've got Zoom back, yes. David's just coming to show to leave the meeting. Oh, done it. Are we done? I haven't got my glasses on now. Yes.
I'm just sorry.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
doing.
ending it. I just wanted to have a quick word with Rowena, but it
I
doesn't.
know. I'm trying to get out. Where does it say leaving them? I've seen it before. There.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Rowena. We're on our own.
Oh, hi.
So, it's only because I had an invitation from Andy Wistreich.
Yes.
Yes, who is, I don't know if you got this, but he is starting doing Kal Chakra practice on Zoom. So,
Right. Yes, I think I did notice it, but I may not have totally taken it in. Is yes. But, is that happening soon?
it's not this week, but I think it's next week. I think it's Thursdays at 2:30. I just thought.
Okay. I think I've got it. I've got it starred, but not fully taken in. Oh yes, I've just got it here. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Wednesday. Oh, is that Wednesday? 9th of April. 2:30. Is that the? Oh yes, that's probably a Thursday then, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. If it's Wednesday, it's a problem, but it is Thursday.
No. I've just found it. I've starred it, but I hadn't quite taken it in. So yes, lovely. So next week, starting next week, 2:30.
Brilliant. And the other
yes.
thing that Kerry was asking about what we're doing about sort of ecological stuff, and obviously we've let go of because we were going to originally we were planning to have a meeting today, but obviously that wasn't appropriate to do that. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on whether we.
I honestly haven't known what would be possible and most helpful to do. No, I suppose it's very I mean, do you think we could do anything, start anything online, or is it?
I think we certainly could, but I'm only just starting to sort of think about it again. So I just wanted to maybe plant a seed in your mind, and perhaps we can, you know, both go in, think about it separately, and come back in a week or two, and just make plans if we can think of anything that, you know, that would be helpful. But Jamming's doing everything on Zoom now, so you know. People will be expecting this kind of thing, so I don't think it's any problem.
Right. No. So we could, in a way, just carry on as we were thinking of via Zoom. Is that what you think?
I think we could. Yes. I don't see any problem. Yeah. So we need to make a little bit of a plan. What you know, sort of how we want to run the meeting and so on.
Yes. And I need to make sure I can get Zoom going. I don't know what happened. Because I was
on your computer and it didn't work, or what?
Yes, because I had it on. I was using Adrian's laptop last week, and then I tried to set it up on mine for this, and it somehow didn't work. So I don't know what I haven't done right.
Okay.
But I'll try and see maybe Adrian